let's take a look at some of the greatest pieces of nostalgia that were chalked out at the end of the 20th century.
Mummies.
For this, we're going to be looking at the critical success of the film, the commercial success of the film, and the overall legacy.
Do something, man, because your legacy is in jeopardy.
So, let's dive into 3 films from 1999 that are cinematic classics and certified nostalgic. First up, She's All That. Having the title of one of the most quintessential teen films of the 90s, She's All That gave a good mix of an old story to a new audience. With this new audience came all the cliches and stereotypes that 90s teen flicks had to offer, and on top of this, pretty solid performances by the cast. Commercially, this film was a success, making over $100 million on a $10 million budget. Critically, it was mixed, some saying it was charming and fun, others said it was unfunny and predictable. The special part about this film is its overall legacy. Not only is the spirit of the 1990s captured perfectly in this film, but the amount of heartthrobs in this film is really what gives it its legacy. I mean, this is just one of the few films that is part of the Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard cinematic universe. This film is a time capsule with all the corniness you could ever want from a 90s teen flick. Next up, Cruel Intentions. This film holds its 90s cliche title from taking a story that already exists and remaking it. It was a fresh take on 90s teen flicks, being more dark and cynical, and proudly bearing an R rating. The film is paced pretty well, and the acting overall is pretty strong, but I think where this film really wins is the production design. This film looks and acts like a period piece set in the 90s, and that's what sets it apart from so many others. Commercially, this film did great, making $76 million on a $10.5 million budget, and critically it was mixed, with some saying that the film relied too much on eye candy, while others thought it was unique and smart. The legacy of this film comes from where it stands out among 90s teen films. The film was a little taboo when it came out because it contrasted to the lighthearted, fun, sweet stories that were told in other teen flicks. That alone is the reason for its legacy and rewatchability.
What is going on? Don't.
Lastly, The Mummy. Again, The Mummy is part of that 90s train that would remake something that already exists, taking the classic Universal monster and updating it for a new audience. The performances in this film are just so good, and the dialogue itself is just so witty and clever, while never taking itself too seriously. On top of this, the CGI was some of the best you could get at the time, with ILM doing their magic, and it made Brendan Fraser one of the biggest stars of the late 90s and early 2000s. Commercially, this blew up the box office, making $417 million on an $80 million budget. Critically, there was some debate, with some comparing it to a Indiana Jones ripoff, and others saying it was unreasonably entertaining. The overall legacy left is huge. Not only did we get technically 3 sequels, even though we only count 2 of them, 1 if you ask some, a roller coaster based on the movie itself, dialogue that is constantly quoted.
Looks to me like you're on the wrong side of the river!
I am a librarian.
And one of the most memorable villains of the 90s. But in general, there's just a loyal fan base to the film. And rightfully so, because there's no such thing as guilty pleasure when it comes to this film. In essay, there seems to be a theme with these 3 films that they are all remakes or retelling of a story that already exists. It's obvious that this is something that happens a lot, but these films just have something about them that makes them stand out from the rest. These films just take you back to a different time, because they're time capsules that successfully hold our attention and stay hidden in our hearts.
What? What'd I say?